Branded a danger to the community, capable of murdering anyone who crosses her.
This is Katherine Knight. She is the first woman in Australian history to receive life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Her crime was so brutal, so disturbing, that even the most veteran investigators claimed they had never seen anything like it. In the year 2000, she committed a murder so grotesque that it shocked not only the small community of Aberdeen in New South Wales, but the entire nation. On March 1st, 2000, John Price didn't show up for work. His colleagues immediately became concerned. The day before, Price had made a chilling comment to his coworkers. If he ever turned up dead, Katherine would be responsible. When police arrived at his house, they encountered a scene that would mark them forever. In the kitchen, there were 2 prepared plates on the table. Each plate contained carefully presented vegetables and what appeared to be meat. But it wasn't meat from any animal. It was human meat, specifically parts of John Price's body, cooked with vegetables and sauce. The plates had cards with the names of Price's children. Katherine had prepared a cannibal dinner for the children to consume their own father. In the living room, the horror reached its peak. John Price's decapitated and completely skinned body hung from a hook. His skin had been removed with surgical precision and hung like a macabre suit. Katherine Knight worked at a slaughterhouse. For her, skinning a body was nothing unknown. The difference is that this time, it wasn't an animal. It was the man she had lived with for years, the man who had tried to escape her violence. Katherine was born in October 1955 in Tenterfield, New South Wales. From the beginning, her life was marked by violence and chaos. Her mother had maintained an extramarital relationship with Ken Knight, a married man known for his violent character and alcoholism. At home, things were even worse. Ken beat Barbara regularly and did so in front of the children. Katherine grew up witnessing these scenes of domestic violence and absorbing that behavioral model. She would later claim that she was also a victim of abuse by family members. Her childhood was filled with trauma, fear, and instability. At school, Katherine was a troubled child. She was reserved and shy, but when something bothered her, she reacted with extreme violence. She fought with other students and on one occasion even attacked a teacher. She left school at 15, practically unable to read or write. However, she found work in a place that would forever mark her life, a local slaughterhouse. For most people, working at a slaughterhouse is hard and unpleasant. For Katherine, it was fascinating. She felt comfortable surrounded by blood, knives, and slaughtered animals. She quickly learned butchering techniques and became a skilled meat cutter. Her colleagues remembered her being proud of her knives, which she cared for meticulously. At home, she hung them right above the bed. She claimed she wanted them always at hand. This obsession with knives would be a constant throughout her life. Her first major relationship was with David Kellett. At first, it seemed like a normal couple, but soon he discovered her violent side. On their wedding night, Katherine tried to strangle him because he fell asleep after having relations. Over time, she attacked him on multiple occasions. Once she hit him on the head with a frying pan, leaving him unconscious. On another occasion, she burned all his clothes and destroyed his personal belongings. It was common for her to chase him around the house with knives in her hand. In an especially macabre scene, she hung baby clothes next to sharpened knives over the matrimonial bed as a threat. After separating from Kellett, Katherine repeated the same dynamic with other men. With David Saunders, she had a relationship marked by pathological jealousy and physical violence. On one occasion, she killed his puppy in front of him just to show him what she was capable of. Later, she was with John Chillingworth, whom she also frequently attacked during arguments. All her romantic partners agreed that Katherine was unpredictable, explosive, and dangerous. But even so, several of them returned to her after breakups, trapped in a dynamic of manipulation and fear. In the early 90s, she met John Charles Thomas Price. He was a respected man in Aberdeen, father of 3 children, and beloved in his community. His friends described him as kind, hardworking, and always willing to help. At the beginning, the relationship seemed stable, but soon Katherine showed her true character. She became possessive, jealous, and aggressive. In 1998, after a strong argument, Katherine recorded a video. In it, she showed medical supplies that John had brought from his work. They were discarded supplies with no value, but by sending the video to the company, she managed to get him fired. John had worked there for 17 years. He was devastated and ended the relationship. However, shortly after, she convinced him to resume dating. His friends and family begged him to stay away from her permanently. They warned him that she was dangerous. John himself confessed to coworkers that if he ever appeared dead, Katherine would be responsible. But like many victims of domestic violence, he found it difficult to break the cycle. On February 29, 2000, John spent the afternoon at neighbor's house. There he commented once more that if he didn't go to work the next day, it would be because Katherine had done something to him. That night, she went to his house. They both had relations, and afterward, John fell asleep. He didn't suspect what would happen hours later. In the early morning of March 1st, Katherine took one of her butcher knives. She attacked John while he slept. He woke up injured and tried to escape, running down the hallway while she stabbed him again and again. Blood was splattered on the walls and on the front door, which he managed to open trying to flee. However, he didn't have the strength and collapsed. Katherine dragged him inside and continued with the assault. Forensics calculated that John received at least 37 stab wounds. Many of them were fatal. He had defensive wounds on his arms and hands, proof of his desperate attempt to survive. He finally died from blood loss. What happened next took the case to another level of horror. Katherine used her slaughterhouse knowledge to skin John's body with chilling precision. She hung the entire skin on a hook in the living room. Then she decapitated the corpse and began cooking parts of his meat along with vegetables and sauce. On the table, she arranged 2 prepared plates, each one accompanied by a card with the name of John's children. Everything indicated that she intended for the children to discover the scene and face the cannibalism of their own father. When John didn't show up for work the next morning, his colleagues raised the alarm. Police went to the house, and what they found was etched in their memory forever. One officer described the scene as the most horrible of his career. Katherine was found unconscious after having ingested pills in an apparent suicide attempt. She was revived and arrested. The trial began in October 2001. At first, Katherine pleaded not guilty, which promised a long and painful process. However, on the first day of testimony, she suddenly changed her plea to guilty. Although this prevented the jury from seeing the most disturbing graphic evidence, the details were already public knowledge. The impact was devastating. Judge Barry O'Keefe stated that the crime was beyond human comprehension. He handed down life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. It was the first time that sentence was imposed on a woman in Australia. Australian society reacted with a mixture of horror and disbelief. The media followed the case closely and described it as the worst domestic murder in the country. Many wondered how it was possible that no one had stopped Katherine before. She had a long history of violence. Her previous partners had reported threats, assaults, and even attempted murder, but she had managed to avoid a serious conviction until then. Today, Katherine Knight continues serving her sentence at Silverwater Prison in New South Wales. She has never shown true remorse. She continues to be studied by psychologists and criminologists as an extreme case of domestic violence and sadism. For many Australians, her name is synonymous with terror. The legacy of this crime goes beyond what happened that night. Katherine represents a clear example of how patterns of abuse and unaddressed violence can escalate to unthinkable levels. For decades, she showed signs of being dangerous. She mistreated her partners, threatened with knives, physically attacked on multiple occasions. John Price knew he was in danger. He said it out loud, but still remained with her. That mistake cost him his life. Katherine Knight's story also exposes a cruel facet of crime, the desire not only to end a life, but to inflict maximum suffering on victims and their loved ones. The fact of preparing plates with John's meat for his children to find demonstrates a level of psychological perversity that continues to impact more than 20 years later. Katherine Knight will never leave prison. Her name has been marked in collective memory as a symbol of evil and the dangers of domestic violence. Investigators mention her as a case study in conferences and universities. Her story serves as a warning about the risks of ignoring clear signs of violent behavior. What happened in Aberdeen in the year 2000 remains one of the darkest chapters in Australian crime, a reminder of how far human cruelty can go when combined with impunity and lack of control. In the small town of Aberdeen, where everyone knows each other, Katherine Knight's name continues to be synonymous with absolute horror. It's a story the community will never be able to forget.